Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name's Leora and I talk on here about books and writing sometimes as well. And today I'm doing another book chat and chill where I sit around and drink some coffee or wine, and sometimes I do a face mask, but not today because today I'm here with my friend Britt. This is just like the last time we filmed because today I'm with
Britt.
Yay!
From basically Britt. Oh my god,
That was
I
so
can't
cute.
speak.
You were like
Britt.
The last time we filmed was like I think over 2 years ago.
Definitely. You know what's so strange? It's really kind of difficult to say my own name. In Dutch it's like Britt.
Britt,
But here's like
yeah.
Britt.
I want to say it like in the Dutch way, but then it's really difficult to switch your R like in the middle of a language. Mm-hmm. So I end up being like, this is my friend Britt.
Yeah.
Like very aggressively. Anyway, briefly introduce yourself. If any of you don't know her, honestly, I'm not sure if you've been on this channel because
we often meet up.
Yeah, we live very close.
Yes, exactly.
We're close friends as well.
Yes.
So.
Well, my name is Britt. I have a YouTube channel as well called Basically Britt, and I have like an own online shop, and I design stationery, and I like reading. I like hanging out with Leora and talk about books. What we'll be doing.
Yes. So this was a very long intro with many distractions, but that's okay because like the vibe of this video is supposed to be a bit more like chill and laid back and just like talking about some books. So it's definitely permitted for this one time to be lost in what you're talking about. So that's great. So yeah, let's get into it. Firstly, I would love to know what you are currently reading.
Okay, so I am very close to finishing this one book called Boys Don't Cry.
Oh my god, that reminds me of the Eurovision song by Switzerland.
It was called Boys Do Cry, right?
Yeah,
It was so amazing.
I didn't like it.
No?
No.
Leora.
It was so beautiful. This is how you know she's mad.
Yeah.
She starts saying my name the Dutch way. Yeah. She goes like Leora.
But how? Oh my god, it was so beautiful.
No, I thought it was so cliche. Like, but this is old news. Like, this has been held by feminists for years on end. Boys do cry.
Still.
We know by now. And I thought
creepy.
his face, I just couldn't stand his face. It just annoyed me. I'm so sorry, Switzerland.
No, I liked it a lot.
I'm glad you liked it. I didn't
But
like it.
I also very much liking this book. It's like I've nearly finished it. I bought it a few weeks ago, so I'm reading it quite soon, which normally doesn't happen. Normally it's like on my shelf for years.
It just sits there for many years.
Yes, exactly. But it's about these two brothers. Whoa, what was that word? One of them is like 12 and the other one is 17, I believe. And they are just dealing with lots of stuff in their lives, and their dad is not really around. It's like drugs involved and then disease as well.
Okay, that sounds so sad.
Yeah, it's freaking sad, but it's also really beautiful and just, I don't know, I'm flying through it. I think I've read this in a few days, which is
wonderful.
like good for me because I was in like a massive reading slump for the past months actually. And this one's getting me out of it. So it's very good.
That's amazing.
So this is my currently reading.
And have you cried reading it?
Not yet. I do.
So it's also Britt Don't Cry.
Yeah.
I'm so funny.
Exactly. Oh my god, girl. You should be a comedian.
I know.
No, I don't
Crazy.
really cry that much with books. I'm more of like a film crier. I cry so easily.
No, I know this.
Yeah.
This is I know. Like it happens quite regularly. She'll just send you a selfie of her crying and be like, I was watching this in this movie.
Oh my god, it's like bawling.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't cried yet, but I have this feeling that I will.
Okay,
So
but like
we'll see.
near the end.
Yeah, probably.
So
It's
are you usually good with reading like very tragic books?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can always handle that quite easily.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I kind of like these books because they make me feel so many emotions, and I think that's so great when an author can do that. I don't really mind reading very tragic books, but I also like to read some happy books sometimes because your girl needs some happiness in her life as well when consuming stories, and not only like tragic sadness.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always like a little bit jealous of people who can read very tragic and like heartfelt stories because I tend to feel so much of what is happening in the book. Like I'm bad at shaking it off. So if I'm reading something that is really sad and then like a few days later I tend to still like think of it and feel bad, like just generally myself, even though I know it's not a real story and a lot of times it's fictional people, but it just clings to me. So that's why I always sort of gravitate towards like the happy and heartwarming, just because I'm really bad at just like realizing like this isn't real. It just sort of sticks with me.
God, that makes sense though.
But it also depends. If my anxiety is worse, this happens more than if I'm doing really well, then I tend to be better at shaking it off. So the funny thing is when I'm reading more sad and tragic books, that usually indicates I'm actually doing really well.
Oh.
Because then I can handle it.
That's such like a weird thing,
I know. But
It's
that
a
just
good
sort
thing
of
as well.
indicates that I can handle the sadness. Like, my current read is definitely
also,
heartwarming.
It looks so much like happier than the book I'm reading.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm gonna put that again here.
Just somewhere on the floor.
Yeah.
This is even the second time you're throwing books to the floor in my
God,
videos.
exactly.
Okay, so I'm reading Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which is quite the rage right now on BookTube.
Like everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really loving it. I've also read Beach Read, her first book, I think, or
yeah.
I don't know if it was her first, but it's one of her other books. I've not read People We Meet on Vacation, but I'm currently reading this one. I'm also annotating it because it's really good. And I liked Beach Read, but with this one, I'm absolutely obsessed. It is so good.
What's it about? I've never heard of it before.
So it's very similar to Beach Read, actually, but it's sort of just the same story, but like in a different jacket. So we have Nora, who is like a sort of very cutthroat literary agent, and then we have Charlie, who's an editor, so he edits books, and they've always sort of been work nemesis, and so it's sort of enemies to lovers. And she's sort of stuck in this loop where she feels like people she dates are always like wandering off to the countryside, and then they're meeting their true love over there, and then they dump her because she's like a cold-hearted person in the city, you know, she's like the city girl, so they dump her and they go off with some beautiful farmer girl who has like freckles and wears dungarees.
Like you.
Yeah, like me, except I do live in the city. That's how she feels. And then one of her books is a really big success, and her sister is currently pregnant, but she seems to be struggling a little bit. So she and her sister go on a trip to the countryside, to the place where the really successful book was based off of, and it's called Sunshine Falls. And then potentially she will get her own sunshine-full moment, like her own little romance in the countryside with potentially this guy, the editor, who turns out to be from that town. So she meets him there, and then something starts, and it's just these two people are constantly at each other's throats, but then they're definitely falling for each other, and it's just it sounds so good, and like it's definitely a book for book lovers, like as the title
because
indicates.
it's about books and like
it's a lot about books, and like a bookstore is there as well, and it's like a lot of scenes surrounding books and stories, and it's really good. It's so funny. It's hilarious. It's one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. I keep laughing out loud.
Nice, because I do like really funny books. Like I'm not really a romance reader, but if they're very funny, like I'm interested in this one now actually, because you said it's super funny. I just love funny books.
It's really
very
fun.
much.
But her first one's very funny as well.
Oh,
You can borrow the first one right now. I have it.
So I think I'm gonna take that one home with me, and then we can like swap.
Yeah, I have Beach Read, so I can give it to you. And
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, not this one.
No.
This is my baby right now. You cannot take it from me. That would be kidnapping.
I won't.
Okay.
I will not even try. But I brought some books here because I was like doing a big book on haul, so I brought a couple that you were interested in, right?
Yes. I should definitely also do a book on haul, but instead I'm just getting more books for my friends. It's not it
doesn't really work, but oh well.
I have so many books. They're literally in piles on my windowsills, on the floor, on the table, on the nightstand.
We just put some books underneath this plant to cover up
the light switch.
No,
don't show them the light switch. This is behind the scenes information.
It's funny though. So these books are just so useful.
Definitely. Okay, so I have too many books, but you know, I also read a lot. That is my excuse, so it's fine.
Absolutely.
So you brought me Songs in Ursa Major. I want to do a video where I read in different aesthetics for a week, and I also want to read in the 70s aesthetic and then wear some great 70s outfits as well, because I love vintage fashion, as some of you may know. Also work part-time at a vintage store, so I thought this would be a great 70s read.
Yeah.
You didn't love it?
I didn't love it. Like, I would much rather read Daisy Jones and the Six. It kind of had the same vibe of this girl.
I definitely feel like the marketing department was like, we will make the exact cover of Daisy Jones and the Six, and then this will sell.
Exactly. But no, it just has a very similar premise, as in it's like about bands and music, and then I don't know, it takes place I think in exactly the same year maybe.
Really? It's I think 1969.
Was Daisy Jones also like late 60s?
I
don't know, but it was just...
The musician is called Jesse Reed. Is that a reference to Taylor Jenkins Reid?
Oh my god. I hope not, because this book was also written after Daisy Jones and the Six, so I just saw it in the bookstore. I was like, whoa, this looks so similar. And I tried it, and it wasn't really like, even the font is
the font
legit
is the font is the same. It's like the Aldi version.
Yeah,
like the AliExpress.
Like, I'm not trying to butcher this book. It was just
I'm sorry.
fun book.
I'm sorry, Emma Brody. Your book seems to be cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I might love it. So.
Yeah, it was just fun, but if I had to pick between like Daisy Jones and the Six and this one, I would pick Daisy Jones and the Six. But it was definitely like the vibe of just, you know, late 60s, early 70s was very nice. Cool. And it made me feel very like summery. I don't know, it just reminds me of summer.
That is a good, because I need some summer books. Like I was doing an oddly specific book recommendations video, and a lot of people were asking for summer recommendations, and that's when I realised almost all the time I read books related to winter and fall, just because I love that type of vibe, and I'm a fall person. But then I was like, I want to make some summer recommendations, but I literally have barely any. Like, I have none.
This reminded me a lot of summer, because it's just like music and touring and whatever.
That's so
I hope you will like it more than I did.
Well, I generally love fiction about famous people and about bands and music, so I think this could potentially be really cool.
I hope so.
Is it funny though?
Can't really remember. So
yeah, that's not a good sign.
So I don't think so.
Oops. And then we also, this is very funny.
Yeah.
And I also got her copy of The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is one of my all-time favourite sci-fi series.
Oh, you've read it already?
Yeah, I've read it many times, but I don't have a copy because
You've read all the books many times, or just the first one?
The first three I've read
because
like 2 times.
The first 2 I thought were absolutely amazing, but then the last 3 I was so disappointed.
Really? Oh, so I haven't read past the 3rd one.
Oh well.
But I got them from the library when I was like 14, I think, for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely obsessed. It's what got me back into sci-fi, mainly. Nice. This is one of the funniest series I've ever read.
So, like, it takes place in space, and it's just incredibly funny, and the characters are so witty and dry, and the humor is just brilliant. Like, you kind of do have to like this type of humor.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little bit, it's a bit silly. Like, this is not a sci-fi series that takes itself very seriously. No, like, not at all.
Definitely not. It's just really weird as well, and strange.
Absurd. So I got it from the library back then, and then when I was like, I think 21 or 22, I listened to the audiobooks.
Oh yeah.
But I never had a physical copy. And I've always wanted to buy it, but since I've read it already a couple of times, it always felt like so stupid to buy it.
Well, now you got it.
Yeah, so then when you were like, I'm throwing this away, I was like, I need it.
Yeah, no, I was like, I love the first 2 very much, but I just know I will never reread it, and if I really want to like reread the first 2 books, I can always just find them somewhere, and it's just a very big book, and I want to kind of
but this is the first 5 I've like now.
The 5 novels.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that my bookshelf, it was just too cluttered and messy, and it made my head hurt. So I wanted to get rid of lots of books.
And you've bought extra bookshelves recently.
I know.
And it was still too much.
It was a very cute tiny bookshelf, but I want to just stick to those bookshelves that I've got now. So I always just ask my friends first, like, do you want any of the books?
That's a smart thing to do. Well, as you know, my bookshelf actually fell out of the wall.
Oh my god.
So,
I'm looking at this very big hole.
Like, I stuck my finger in it, like, a few nights ago, and it went in, like, this deep.
Oh my god.
My plan is actually to put more bookshelves on there, but like,
of course.
But like with deeper like things like hinges in there, so it doesn't fall out of the wall again. But definitely a bit terrified. But I need the book space, and like I don't know where else I would put a bookshelf except just I need to move maybe so I can fit more books in my house.
Your books are just like
they're
everywhere.
I know,
little piles and stacks really everywhere, which just look cute. Actually.
I mean, it does look kind of cozy, but I'm also a bit of a hoarder at this point, so it's like
I'm seeing another book over there, by the way.
So I've been reading a lot this month. I've been going absolutely wild. I think right now I've read 19 books. This is my 20th. And then I'm also close to finishing an audiobook I really need to talk about in a bit because it's absolutely a wild audiobook that you need to hear about. I think you would also potentially really like it. But so this is one I'm trying. I would love to go over 20. So, since this is very short, this is my plan for when I hit 20 to make it 21. So this is The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb is one of my all-time favourite fantasy authors. I think she's just the best, to put it very plainly.
Never read it.
I've read loads of Robin Hobb books. Like, several of her series I've actually read completely, which is crazy because they're so long.
Yes.
Like, a lot of her books are like over 600 pages.
I know.
But they're so good. Like, the world building is always amazing, and it's just... the way she weaves stories, and because it's so long, you also really get to know the characters. They almost feel like real people to you. That is something she's very good at, like similar to Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's really good at building a character and making it feel real and flawed, and like with dreams and hopes. And her series tend to build very slowly, but then they come to a crescendo that's just so cool. Like it reads away really easily, especially for fantasy. That's definitely more on the complicated side of things. So when I saw this at the thrift store, I think I got it for like €3 or something.
It looks so
It's a special
pretty.
edition. So it's a special edition of some of her short stories.
Yeah.
I've never read any of her short stories yet. It's really beautiful. It's got like bronze foiling and everything. And it's stunning. It's also got some exclusive artwork. So I was just really curious to see what her short stories are like, to see if I also like them. Because one of the reasons I like it so much is that she takes so much time in her novels to build up the world and the people. But of course, in a short story, that will be different.
Exactly.
So I was just interested in seeing how that would go.
Well, it was definitely a nice thrift find for you.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
yes.
no, I've only
I
got,
love thrifting books.
Ship of Magic.
Yeah.
I only have
Well, that is one of my favourites.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued by it, but it's so freaking big that every time I look at it on my bookshelf, and if I'm like trying to look for a new book, I just like browse past
Just like
it,
skim over it, like immediately. I'm like, no, not that one.
It's freaking big. I need to be really in the right mind, like having the right mindset.
But it is so
to
good.
pick up such a big book.
It is really, really good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't read like a super big book. I don't think it's a book that you will get stuck in, because it's just so
Yeah, I know. I just
invigorating. Oh my god! And if you do start reading it, I want to hear all about your thoughts on, on one of the girls in the book. She's like the daughter of one of the families that owns one of the ships. So you have like families of like people who go out onto the sea in these living boats.
Yeah.
And they like own a boat, and that makes them one of the like sort of royal families. Well, not royal, but I don't know the right word for it. Like in Dutch, it's like vaardersfamilies. But I don't really know the translation on the top of my head.
Just old sailor family.
Yeah, it's
or
not
something like that.
sailor, and it's not really the same thing. Yeah. It's a different word.
Oh well.
But anyway,
been on sea for a long time. Or
yeah,
like
just people in boats. Yeah. So basically, she's like one of the younger daughters, and her name is Malta, and she's absolutely the worst. She's
the worst.
She's one of the worst characters I've read, but she really goes through like growth, and at the end of the series, I adored her. So to me, it felt very similarly to what happened with Sansa in Game of Thrones, because at the beginning, I was like despising Sansa because she was just like so shallow and like a little bit stupid, but then towards the end, I thought she was the coolest, and I had a very similar thing with Malta, and I can't find anybody to talk about this with, so you need to read it for my sake.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm a bit scared because it's like it's so freaking
very
big.
understandable.
I was thinking maybe I can just listen to the audiobook at the same time and then read it, something like that, but I just have to be in the right mindset. Like I'm finally getting out of my reading slump, so I'm not going to be picking
I
up
get that. I totally
such
get that.
a big book.
Yeah.
That's why
I
I'm
still
choosing
I still have to
small
read
ones.
the third book
in
that series, but the thing is, I have these covers from the 80s in Dutch that are so hard to find, and I don't want to buy a newer edition because it will look ugly, so I still have to figure out how I'll do that.
I've just accepted the fact that so many of my series don't match, and at first I really hated it, but now I kind of love it. It looks quirky.
It can definitely be cute, but it's just not
the vibe you're going for.
I just also don't like the new edition. Sort of very tacky front with like smoke, and then all the characters standing around a ship like, and I just don't, it's not my vibe.
Which ones are those? I don't think I have that one.
Well, they're not that ugly, but it's just, I'm not into it. So, another book I really want to talk about is one I'm currently listening to, and it's called The Royal Art of Poison.
Ooh,
Listen, I've been listening to this book for quite a long time, because the thing is, it's really funny, and most of the stories are so intriguing, and it's definitely like, okay, so as you know, I have aspirations to be a writer. I've wanted to be a writer since I was like, I don't know, since I could talk, I've told everybody I was a writer. Like, I remember when I was at my grandparents' house, I used to like pick books from their bookshelves. My grandmother also was a big reader, and my grandfather as well, he read lots of horror, which is really fun. So I'd grab books from their shelves and I'd hold them upside down because I couldn't read yet. And I'd read them to them. I'd do like a storyteller thing with the book upside down, and everybody thought it was adorable.
That is amazing though.
So I was very set on being a writer. So currently I'm working on an essay collection, as some of you may know if you've watched my writing vlogs, which I'm very excited about, and there will be a new one soon. I know you've all been asking for it. But one day, I really want to write a fantasy book, because I love fantasy. It's one of my favorite genres, but I just feel like as a writer, I'm not ready to build a cool world and to do all the things necessary to write a fantasy. But so the point of this whole story is that this book is so inspiring for one day wanting to write a fantasy, just because it sort of combines so many old stories of figures in history that have died in mysterious ways and how they've died and all the weird and crazy things they did in their lives and like the politics of the court in several countries, like in the Roman Empire, but also during Napoleon's time, but also in France and in Spain and Italy and all over the world, really, weird empires and things that happened to the kings and queens and princesses and like weird deaths and what people used to believe in the Middle Ages, but then also in the 18th century, and there's Russian Tsars and there's all these things.
That sounds so interesting.
It is super interesting, and it's definitely a book I will get back to when I am writing a fantasy one day.
Just to like get inspiration.
Yeah. Oh my god, and I can also see so many patterns from other fantasy books that have taken inspiration from some of these stories. So that's been really cool. And the thing is, in history, so many absolutely outrageous things have happened. And sometimes when you see them in fiction, you're like, that is ridiculous. But then you read a book like this and you're like, it's not. Like, people did things like this. So
it's dark and twisted.
It's
but
definitely
super
twisted.
interesting.
It's also really gross. If you have if you're not like, if you have like a weak stomach and you are like nauseous quickly, don't pick this up. It is absolutely revolting. I tried to listen to it while eating and I really do not recommend, because okay, so the issue with this book is it's so many bits of history and it's just compiled, so it's just information that keeps going and going, but there's no really like plot or rhyme to it. It doesn't seem very logical, so I got bored a couple of times while listening to it. Got like pulled back in at like a news story about a new happening. So it's basically detailing all sorts of instances of how people dealt with poison, with deaths of poison, like modern sort of exhumations of bodies who might have been poisoned back in the day. So it's also very cool for true crime fans, but it also really talks about how gross people were and how many people actually had worms and lice and flea, and like, for example, how they dealt with waste in middle-aged castles. They had like a chamber below filled with waste. And the reason a lot of royal families moved from like a spring house to a winter house is because they had to move because the stench would get too much and they would have to like clean those rooms full of waste because they never cleaned them. So it took forever. And then also sometimes the walls would break into like the neighbors' houses or like surrounding villages, and just a rotting poo would flow out of the walls. So, and then also there was this story about a graveyard. Like, so they had the plague, and then houses for the poor were built on top of like mass graves where plague victims were dumped. But so at one point, one of those graves sort of broke through the earth somehow because of like decomposition, and it sort of like started bubbling. I don't know, something chemical happened, and then one guy one afternoon walked into his basement to find just a load of corpses sort of had fallen into it from the ground on up.
Oh my goodness, that's like my nightmare.
I know, but just so this book is filled to the brim with stories like this, and it's so incredibly, but it's so fascinating. Like I've rarely been this fascinated by something so absolutely gross and so filled with vomit and dismay, but it's just wildly interesting.
It is. I like reading about these, or like learning about these very just kind of random topics and very niche topics.
Yes.
In history.
One of my favourite things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this book as well.
Yeah. It's a bit long-winded, so probably like halfway through you'll be like, I don't care anymore. But then maybe like a few weeks later you'll be intrigued and you'll pick it back up. That's what happened with me.
Because it isn't like a fiction story where you will forget all of the characters if they're just
if you lose like attention for a bit, you can easily come back to it because it's a lot of separate instances.
Yeah.
So it's so intriguing, and I need to get a physical copy because I need to use this when I'm writing a fantasy one day.
And you can like underline and just whatever.
Oh my god! I also need to tell you, there was this one famous mathematician in this book they talked about, and they just like funneled up some of his weird things that he did in his lifetime, and he actually dueled a man to the death one day because they were disagreeing about a mathematical equation.
Oh my god!
Like these kind of things. So yeah, it was very interesting so far.
I am very intrigued.
I know, it is so good.
Oh my god.
And I love books like this. I also, like a couple of years ago, I read a book all about female serial killers. And it was a similar fascination I had because it was just all these stories were like so like so unlikely, you know, but so intriguing and like absolutely horrible, of course, but very intriguing.
Like finding these like sometimes I just scroll through like my audiobooks and see if there's something that just, you know, kind of interests me, but just something very random that I wouldn't necessarily pick up very quickly in a bookstore or something. Yeah. But now I want to, because I haven't listened to an audiobook in like weeks, I think, because my mind just is like wandering. So I thought I'm not going to try but now I'm gonna try again. But there's also a different book. Like I brought another book that I recently got that I'm super interested in. Also because of the cover. Look how
the cover is so good.
And it's a coming of age story filled with magic and language and plot, beautiful and devastating. I'm like, yes, this is my jam.
Give me some beautiful and devastating stories.
Yeah, it is. So I picked it up. I do have to say, kind of forgot what it's about, but I was just so intrigued by it.
I was like, now she's gonna tell me what it is about, and you're like, I don't know actually, so I don't know, sorry.
Okay, no wait, I'm gonna look it up.
She's gonna read it very quickly to summarize to us what it is about. This is something I always do during videos as well. It's just I cut it out usually.
Yeah. Maybe it's better to just go into it blind. I'm just gonna say that it takes place in 1954, and it's about a woman born in a bathtub in 1954 to a white mother and a Cherokee father. I'm hoping that pronouncing it right.
Cherokee.
Betty inhabits a world of poverty and loss and lush landscapes and blazing stars.
Oh, that sounds
I'm
cool.
not even gonna read more because this just sounds very intriguing. Oh, wait.
She's like, I put a bookmark in it.
I bought this in Bath at Toppings
and you got the bookmark with it.
Yes. Oh
very
God,
cute.
This bookstore was amazing. If you ever go to Bath, you have to visit this bookstore. When I walked inside, I just thought, oh, this is a really nice bookstore. It wasn't too big. I thought, oh, it's just nice. And apparently, it was like filled with little hallways downstairs, and it was like a maze. It was so big.
That is so good. I love like secret hallways.
Yes. And every time it was like a new kind of corner, and then just more. I was completely amazed.
Really,
and I
really
believe
cool.
you could just walk all the way like underneath and then cross it and then get back up again. They had like the biggest children's section as well, which was so amazing.
That's
I love
really
seeing
cool.
these children just like browsing books. I'm like, yes, girl, you go get yourself a book.
That's adorable.
But no, this bookstore was amazing, and that's why I got this. That's why I picked it up. I don't know, I just wanted to bring it because I was thinking like I've nearly finished my book, the one I'm currently reading, and I thought maybe I can talk about a book that I want to read afterwards, and this is it. It's on my TBR. I will let you know what it's like.
You can go over to Britt's channel if you want to know what this is like.
Yes, exactly.
She'll definitely share it over there.
I'll be reading it in my next reading vlog.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, I would love to end this video because I can already feel the pains of editing Leora in the future. I'm making Book Chat and Chill into a series where I talk with different guests on this channel as well. So Britt right now, and I'm also going to be filming with some of my best friends and another booktuber in the future, so I'm very excited about this.
So
it's going to be such a good time. I love like the sort of low-key, laid-back vibe of these.
Exactly. And just like chatting as if you were chatting to a friend without a camera there,
definitely. It also gets like a sort of a podcast vibe to me.
Yes. Oh my god, exactly.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Definitely let me know in the comments down below whether you like this video, and leave a nice sunflower emoji if you don't know what to comment, but it is all about the sunflowers.
It's my favourite
And
flower.
definitely check out her channel as well. She's one of my closest friends and she's absolutely amazing.
Oh, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Okay, really hope you guys enjoyed this video and that I will see you in the next one as well. Bye!
Bye!
Oh, do you have anything to mention?
Oh, not really.
Okay.
No. I just had lots of fun. Just hanging out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.